Welcome to Where There's a Wills.
There's a play.
I'm Ian.
I'm Stacey.
And we're here with an initial impressions. We usually don't do these live, but we've been having some issues with our live streams. And instead of just randomly doing a test live, I figured we would just do an initial impressions for a game we just learned. And that is Maki Master from Kids Table Board Gaming. So let's get to it. Let's get to the rule book. As with all of Kids Table Board Gaming rule books, especially with all of their games, more recent games, this was a very clear, very well laid out rule book. Very easy to follow. A nice components page on the front. Very clear directions with examples and where to place things. So, I mean, I have no complaints about this rule book. This rule book was very easy to follow. I've not done any solo, so I haven't quite looked at the solo mode sheet. There is a separate solo mode sheet, so I'm excited to kind of look at that. But rulebook, very clear, very concise, directions, examples. So I like the rulebook. It was easy to follow. What do you think?
Ditto.
Ditto. All right.
Very
Ditto.
easy to follow.
Very easy to follow. All right. Moving on to the setup. And for the setup, we are actually going to drop down to the table here. We're still set up for some of our gameplays and stuff. So, oops, and I just dropped the rule book, which I'm going to need. So, here is the setup. All right, so to set up Maki Master, you put out your mat here, your game board. You have your pantry tabs on the side of it, and so you put all of your pantry items by category. You have your base items, you have your miscellaneous items, you have your fish, your vegetables, your seafood, and your special items. There's different numbers for different things. And then you randomly place out these teacups, one for each player. This is the deluxe version, so this looks a little differently than the main version, but I think the main version is going to be just as nice. You place out teacups equal to the number of players randomly. You stack these recipe cards in front of you. These are the recipes. Each person gets one 2-ingredient recipe, one 3-ingredient recipe, and one 4-ingredient recipe to start. This over here are your action cards, and you place this action display depending on how many people are playing. So with a 2-player game, we had to cover up the final 2 rows. If you're playing with 3 people, you cover up 1 row, and if you're playing with 4 people, you don't cover up any. So this goes nicely on there. You deal out 3 action cards, you put the rest over here. You put your wasabi over here, so you have wasabi cubes. In the non-deluxe version, you have bigger cubes that are different color, but we got little wasabi splats there. You put 1 of each onto your wasabi pool, and we'll talk about that in the gameplay. And then each person gets 1 of these nice little wasabi dishes. So those are, and then there's player aid cards, which are nice. With a 2-player game, it's really nice because we can take 2 of them and have 1 on each side, so we don't have to keep flipping back and forth as to what we can do. And that's the setup. Setup is pretty simple and straightforward. We'll go back to us for the components. All right. Do you want to talk about components? I think we kind of, I mean, the components are kind of part of the setup. So, like I said, we do have the deluxe version. There's some other stuff in the box for the deluxe version. So we kind of showed all the components here. If we go back down to the table.
One thing about the components is that the recipe that you use are very high quality cardboard. They're not bendable. The cards themselves have a good thickness to them. So it's hard to shuffle them, but if you just restack them and kind of do your thing with them, they shouldn't bend too badly. The bowls in our edition are wooden, so you got your nice little wooden bowls.
They're
it says
hard.
wooden on the box. says they're wood, and then it says that these are wood as well.
Yep. So then you also, for at least for the deluxe, I'm not going to say this is everything, so I'm going to say at least in the deluxe, you have these nice little trays that hold all of these when you put them back in the box. I tried to put them out like this, but they're a little wide and things don't quite line up. But these go nicely back in the box. I'll show you the box here. So you got your other little trays. Those sound like they're almost, I don't know.
It says on the back they're wood.
And then you got a soy sauce for the soy sauce expansion, and you got some more tiles in here for some other expansions, solo mode stuff. So this is what's inside the box here. Yeah, the components are really nice. I really like the you know Kids Table Board Gaming does a great job with their games and their components. Um, so really like everything about it. Moving on to, we'll just stay down at the table. Moving on to the artwork, which Stacy always likes to talk about.
So with KTBG games, I've not complained about any of the artwork in any of their games, and this I believe is done by the same person.
No, I think this is art by Claire Lynn. So it's different.
That's a different artist.
Different artist.
But
different
that's okay.
Than some of the other stuff.
It's still good. The one thing I do have, and I don't know if this is in the considered artwork part of it or not, is that I'm old, and so it's hard for me to read what's on some of the cards.
A couple of the cards do, yeah.
So I have to hold it far away so that I can see it, which kind of gives away what I'm working towards if everyone can see my card. But the pictures.
So here's one of the recipes.
And on there under the avocado nigiri, it tells you what
you can see what
you need,
what ingredients you need.
But the artistry in this game is really fun. It's very it makes me hungry. I'm gonna have to eat lunch as soon as I'm done doing this because it
not
did
sushi
make me
though.
Hungry. Well, I'll go get a bowl of soup from our local fuss store. Okay. That's about as sushi as I get. But anywho, it's really good. The action cards, we had a little confusion with that, but we'll talk about that. But so yeah, I like the artistry of this game.
The art on the recipes does a really good job of making it look realistic but still kind of whimsical, if that makes sense. It's like it's really cool. I love how they did it. I'm not a big sushi person. There's one I've tried sushi. I don't really like raw fish. There's one that had at one of our local places that has some fried crab in it, and I eat that every time we go there.
Crab is good.
Yeah. But so I don't know how much these actually look like the sushis, but they're kind of fun. Like I'm not sure you're actually getting that. But
wouldn't eat that.
I wouldn't eat that one either. There's some of these that actually we were going through, and I'm like, that looks actually pretty good. And I probably would try it. So yeah, so the components really well. Like I said, the deluxe has these nice components.
Yep.
Really nice things. I do like the deluxe has the little wasabi splat instead of just a bigger cube in a different color, and I like the little teacups. In the regular version, these are just little cylinders that there isn't a hole in them, and they're just colored in the middle. So I do like that in the deluxe. So that is the components or the artwork. Moving on to the gameplay. So in Maki Master, you are trying to complete recipes. You do this on your turn. You have 2 steps. Another thing I really like about Kids Table Board Game games, when they lay out their stuff, is like, okay, you got 2 steps. You got 3 steps. Step 1 is you place a tile. So you place one of these tiles. You want to turn one of your recipe cards up over here in this space so that we can see. So this recipe, let's just show all 3 of them here. Okay, so these recipes all need Maki. So it might be a good idea to start with Maki. So your first step is to place a tile.
Yes. Does that help or no?
I think it's fine on the table. I think it'll be fine.
You can see the Maki at the.
Yeah. So you need Maki, and then you kind of see what else you need. So that your first step is to place a tile, and then your second step is either to serve, which you can do only if you have everything you need for a recipe. And in order to serve, you need to have them in a straight line. It does not matter which direction; it just has to be in a straight line. Um, and then when you serve, you get some bonuses. You get the points at the end of the game, but then there's also, if you have what is called serving with style. So if you serve with style, you've served them in the correct order. So as you can see on this volcano roll, you need maki, you need scallop, you need tempura, and you need kyori. So on this, so if you have them in that exact order, you get this little bonus down here. And those wasabi cubes are worth points at the end, and we'll talk about the scoring later. So if I were to have that, and I were to have this stuff in order, what do I need? I need the tempura,
and
I need the
cucumber.
The kyori.
It says cucumber.
Is it the cucumber?
See, this is where.
Oh, I just realized. English, Japanese, cucumber.
Hence why I was confused on that one. Okay,
there we go.
Cucumber.
So we just realized, we just noticed that one side is in English and one side is in Japanese. That's kind of cool. I like that. I just that is okay. I like that. That's really cool. Okay, getting back to this. So you would score this, you would get this, and then you would get these two wasabi cubes from the supply, not the pool, and then you get to put them in there, and those are worth points at the game. We'll talk about that, and then you put this aside. Then you take a new card, and you can take a card from any one of these. If you take a 3-ingredient card, you place one wasabi cube in the pool and one in your wasabi in your bowl here. If you take a 4, because that's going to give you more points, and then you place one only here. And if you take a 5-ingredient one, you place it there. So that is serving. If you can't serve, you can prep. There's one of 3 things you can do when you prep. You can take an action card, which is going to give you some extra abilities, like snaking allows you to not have these in a straight line. Chopping allows you to take something, the top tile, there's one called stack, so you can stack things on top of each other. Chopping allows you to take the top tile from anything, and if there's only one, that is considered the top tile, and place it back in the pantry. Then there is brewing, which allows you to change the teacup with one other space, so you could change it anywhere. Switching allows you to switch 2 adjacent things, and you could even switch it with an empty space, we realized. And torching, when you serve, you get an extra wasabi for every fish and seafood. And then spicy, you can spend one of your wasabi to place another tile that turn. You can only, I guess I should go back, you can only serve if you've actually contributed to that recipe on your turn somehow. So you can't like grab a card and be like, oh, this is already on the board. You have to contribute either by laying a tile or using an action card to maneuver stuff so that you can actually serve it. If there's a space on the board that, so let's say I want to place something right here, and I want to do this tekkemaki. So this tekkemaki needs salmon, or no, sorry, needs tuna. I can actually move this somewhere before my turn and place the tuna there. So what these teacups do is late in the game, when you get to those final rounds, you still have a lot of options. So with 2 players, when you get down to one spot, you still have a lot of options because you can move one of those teacups to place something else. So back to the prep. So if I'm not serving, I'm prepping. I can get an action card, or I can take all of the wasabi from the pool. These are points at the end of the game. Or if I don't like the recipes that are in my hand, I can discard any number of them and draw back to 3. After I've served one, like I said, you take another one. You always have 3 in your hand, and that's the basic gameplay of this. It's pretty simple and straightforward for the gameplay. The game ends when all of the spaces are filled and everybody gets one more full turn. Now, you aren't going to probably be able to place a tile unless you have a chop, and you can take something off to place something else. So keeping these powerful ones late, like chopping or stacking or switching, might help you get an extra recipe at the same time. And you can do more than one recipe at a time. So if I were to plan all this out and I were to place this here, I could actually have done both of those at the same time. So you can do more than one at the same time, as long as you um, are contributing to that recipe. Did I miss anything?
The only thing is that the whole board isn't going to be completely full of tiles because you're going to have
The
these
two
two with
teacups.
the
Yep.
teacups. The
Yep.
teacups are going to stay on the board.
Yep. But you
Um,
can move them
you
during
can,
your turn to place something
yes,
else somewhere.
yes. So that was the only thing.
But yeah, so once every space is filled, including the two teacups spaces, then that triggers the end game.
Yes.
Okay. And moving on to scoring. Want to talk about it?
With the scoring is what you're going to do is I like it because there is math involved, but it's not overly complicated math. So you're going to take your cards and basically the numbers that are on there, the 2, the 4, the 7, you're going to add those up. And then you're going to add up 1 point for the square wasabi and 5 points for the block, or what are they called, splats?
I don't know. I called it a wasabi splat. I'm not sure
Wasabi
exactly.
splat.
It's just a small
Those
and big
ones are
wasabi.
5 points. So you just add those all up. If whoever has the higher score wins. If it's a tie, then whoever has the most wasabi wins. If you're still tied after that, then you share the win.
Yep. All right, we will jump back to us here. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I like this
Go ahead.
game.
I do too.
It for me being a non-spatial person, to do my turn took quite a while because I have to go through one card and then I have to try and see if I can match up anything with my card that's already on there. Or then I look at my actions and see what actions I can fill to or use to possibly score or make a recipe on my next turn. This reminds me a little bit of diced veggies in a way.
It has some similarities.
It's
You're
got a
doing
little
recipes, it's just
Mm-hmm.
with tiles instead of dice.
Yeah. So it's a little similar in my eyes to diced veggies. This just has more spatial awareness of where the recipes are, according to where your cards are and how you can pre-plan by moving things if you've got the right action cards. But I really like this game.
I do too. In fact, you don't know, this game actually predates Dice Veggies by quite some time. This is the remake of a game that Josh Capel had come up with many years ago called Wasabi. The original name of this was supposed to be Wasabi, and then there was some tagline after it, and then they had to change it for reasons to Maki Master. So yes, this is actually the remake of. It does not say the original title. A game that came out quite some time ago. But yeah, so it does have very similar. I do like the recipe. This I KTBG games for us are usually pretty instant hits. Especially since we've gotten really into gaming. We like the lightness of them. We like being able to just get out and kind of play a game pretty quick. Like even playing this one, I think it was about an hour, but we did have to double check. There was a couple of cards here that we had to double check some things. They were already answered on Board Game Geek, which was nice. It was the chop and the slice where it says return the top tile in a space. We were very confused because you only have one tile in spaces. Then we realized there's a tile that says stack, which I don't think we showed, where you can actually put one on top, but a single tile does count as a single tile does count
Stack.
as a single tile does count as being so a single tile does count as a top tile. So but basically every answer we had, because it's been out for a little while, or every question we had was answered pretty quickly, and it made sense. Once we looked at it, I'm like, okay, that makes sense now.
We didn't know there was a stack card.
No, we didn't know there was a stack tile. So like, return the top tile. Are they talking about the top tile on the board? Are they talking? We're like, wait, what top tile? So yeah, we had not seen the stack card, but like Stacey said, instant hit. The components are wonderful. It's just a fun little game, fun little light. it's we like our tile laying games, and this is a different type of tile laying game because you are trying to put stuff in certain order to make recipes, but I like the shared board as well because you're trying to do stuff, but then you're like, okay, wait, what did they place? Okay, can I use that? Or there were a couple times when one of us would play something and then the other one was like, oh, I needed that space. And we both did it. Like she did it, I did. She was just more vocal about it when I did it. um, but yeah, this is an instant hit for us. I'm looking forward to playing it more. I'm looking forward to playing it solo and exploring more. There are also
The solo parts.
no, these are all expansions. There's an
Oh.
appetizers mini expansion, um, which allows you to do so, which has 20 appetizer tokens. And then there's a soy sauce micro expansion, which has some cards. It looks like there's an action card for soy sauce. Then there's a ginger mini expansion. Oh, so these are gonna probably be pretty easy to build in.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling once we play them, we will just put them in there because they're just action cards. They're just more action cards, which allows you to go through more actions before you actually place it. And then there's a plate and bowl micro expansion where there's 6 plate and bowl recipe cards. So there's recipe cards. So there's 4 expansions right here. Like this is just tells you some tiles that are in the game or in the box, and this has some extra actions and some other things. So this game is going to have a lot of variability. And the fact that it can be played solo and multiplayer, I really like because we can get out, we can play a game. And then if Stacey doesn't want to play another game, or she just, we're doing stuff, or she's just wants to hang out,
sometimes.
I can play a game of this solo real quick, which I will probably get one later today. I can see this. I think this will probably be on the table for the weekend. We will probably play it 2 or 3 more times, 2-player. Might try some of these expansions. I will probably get a couple solo games in just to get it before we get it taken down. And this one is actually pretty quick setup. There are a lot of stacks of tiles over here on the side, but because of those inserts, they're really easy to get out and put away. So easy setup, easy gameplay, a nice light game. I think a lot of hardcore gamers would consider this a filler game because it's not as much, but it's going to take a little while to play. So I don't know if it's much of a filler game because
what's a filler game?
Filler games are games that people play in between their bigger games. Oh, those smaller, lighter games. We don't play a lot of bigger games. We don't play a lot of big games. So like they're like, oh, we just want something light. Something fun, light, something quick in between bigger games. When they have when people actually have like board games. Yeah, when they have people over for board games and stuff, and they have a lot of people, and they just want a filler game in between bigger games. Just something a little lighter. But this one won't play real. I mean, this one isn't going to be a super quick game because there is quite a bit going on. So I really like this one. This one's an instant hit. I think we'll be doing a KTBG ranking list here at some point, maybe before the end of the year. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this one ends up. But yeah, I really like this one. It's another hit from KTBG, as they pretty much are.
Made me hungry.
I'm surprised it made you hungry. I guess some of the ingredients might make you hungry. I don't think the sushi actually made you hungry, but
well, this got raw meat in it. There's stuff without meat in it.
Yeah. So yeah, there we go. Another hit from KTBG for us. Let us know if you've played this and what you think about it. If you like this video and want to see more, please hit that subscribe button up above. And if you want to see the rest of our initial impressions videos, follow that link. Once again, this has been Where There's a Wills.
There's a play.
I'm Ian.
I'm Stacey.
And we'll see you next time.
At the table.